Hi, my name is Angie Lamar. Don't forget to join us every Sunday at 1 o'clock. That's right. Hashtag no joke. We're not joking.
On Sunday at 1 p.m. for Real Talk. Hashtag no joke. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, maybe not Instagram. I want to tell you a story, but I will wait until Sunday. My mum got trapped here from Jamaica. She wants to go home, people. Please, God, let's help her sort this out. Wash your hands.
Is racist. And what going for them kids in Brixton? I really do want to hear from you. And we've got somebody new who's going to be making an appearance. I don't know who it is.
A banner with White Lives Matter racist.
No, I honestly don't think it is. The fact that you can tie your banner on the back of a plane and fly it even just highlights even more about the systemic racism and the fact that black people, if we want to do a banner, it's a t-shirt or a flyer. You know what I mean? Black people ain't got that kind of money to go.
Just coming in, just keep them coming in. Jenny D says, loving the discussion. Sybil says, these parties are being held by stupid youngsters who don't appreciate the long-term effects of their ignorance. Mikkel says, big parties going in my area, very white, no police called. And Anika says, that cop is clearly dangerous and gladly free to air his views on black children and single parent fathers. Please like, share, and hashtag no joke. See you later. Keep your messages coming in, please. Thank you.
And he is saying perhaps it's time to consider the imagery or the image of Jesus as a white male. What say you to that, Angie?
Well, we always knew that Jesus wasn't white.
Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
Sicker than your average podcast.
Sicker than your average podcast. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Angie Lamar, they'll go far cause she's a superstar. And Curtis, he's worshipped a wordsmith. When it comes to real talk, they're all my first pick, you heard it. They're so good together, whatever the weather. I dare you to find someone better. I bet that you could never. Facebook and YouTube, they're coming through. Weekly topics on the news, Sundays 1 to 2. And you can chime in if you've got something to say. From the 3 best comedians in the UK, they've all got knowledge by the boatload. They shake it up and make it nice like a snow globe. Not in your postcode, they still feel a stone's throw. Bringing us together. Hashtag no jokes.
Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
Greetings and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us. This is No Joke. As you can see, my name's Eddie Nesta. We started this after the death of George Floyd, a moment to talk, a moment where you didn't have to worry about making people feel uncomfortable anymore. It was more important to speak your truth. That truth, I say no joke, but sometimes this show's been funny. We've had tears, we've had a lot of anger, but what we are really interested in are your comments. So comments as to think what you think we should be talking, not just the lighting and the sound. Okay, thank you for those, but the types of subjects, what you're worried about, what you're having conversations about in your own home. So thank you very much. Between 1 and 2 each and every Sundays. I think we've only got a couple more, and then we'll see where it goes from here. So let's change things around a little bit, shall we? He's feeling unloved. He's feeling left out. He's the big dun-dada. He said he's so broke now. He didn't know how much that dog took to feed, and he's thinking with a little bit of onion that dog might be nice. How you doing, Kurt?
I'm very well, Eddie. Good afternoon. Lovely introduction. You're obviously a professional. I know it's the Dominican and you're talking about eating dog, but let's not do that today. Come on.
Listen, hey. We don't do that here. I've got my flag here with me today. Okay?
Lovely.
All right. And at least it would be my own dog and not one that I'd stolen from somebody else. So let's not talk about Jamaica or anything like that. Yeah. So let's leave that. This is a positive, forward-thinking, articulate, intelligent show. We couldn't.
I want to show you this. I've had this for years. Never had the courage to wear it until you started your show.
Listen, I've been wearing T-shirts into the BBC that I've never worn before, and everybody's looking at me like. Listen, she's the first lady of comedy. We need to get her on board. Whoa, Curtis! Look at Angela!
What is that?
Wow!
Good afternoon,
Saturday hairdresser, open up! Go, girl!
Was your hairdresser a key worker, Angie?
No, this is not hairdresser. This is wig tree. I'm wearing jelly today, okay?
All right, is that jelly?
Today, Matthew, we are going to be
Tina Turner. The city limits. All right, go, girl.
Okay.
How you doing?
Oh, brilliant.
Very
Listen,
well.
thank you again, guys. I do honestly appreciate just having a conversation, and I think people do too. By the way, before we get started, I've had 2 messages about Tim Westwood this week. Please don't lose me my job, right? It means that people are listening, people are looking, and so, you know, the truth will set you free.
So does Angie want to offer a retraction, or does she? What? Any apologies, Ange?
Because I didn't say anything.
I didn't say a thing. It was all Angie. You ran away, baby.
But I take back my chats, okay?
Wow. Nice.
See them big talk there.
My
Okay.
barber shop opened up, so I've got a solicitor for you.
No,
He was getting his hair cut yesterday, and I got some advice for you off air.
Okay, some of my best friends are lawyers.
Oh. Okay, so look, let's get into it. Looking back at the videos, and I realized that we've talked about a lot, and we've never really talked about the moment that we're in, which is interesting. That we are in a moment unlike anything I think any of us have ever explored before, experienced before. So before I ask Angie and Kurt, just please tell me how you're doing, what you've learned about yourself. Tomorrow was Super Saturday. It was about a lockdown.
Yesterday, Eddie.
Yesterday, please forgive me. Today is the
No, but you can't see into the future.
I saw him bright.
What?
Sorry, go on, Eddie.
Today is the 72nd anniversary of the National Health Service, which we'll also talk about. But let's start with reminding everybody, because we're talking about release of lockdown. Today, figures came in that showed that more people contracted the coronavirus worldwide than in any single day. For those people going pub, hairdresser, and all of that, here, just to remind us of what we're in, please take a look at this.
The first day when I saw him, just before I called the ambulance, that's the day when I decided, because I was not going to leave it to him, because he just looked like a skeleton. He just lost so much weight. And he said to me, get me a spoon because I can't drink water with the glass. He did not have energy left on that day. And that was first thing in the morning, and I thought, no, this is not right, because my instinct told me that this is not right, something not right. And I called the ambulance. And he just went out in his slippers. I didn't know he's never gonna come back.
So it's important for me to bring it back to reality, because that's why we're here. That there are lots of people thinking it's 5G, lots of people thinking it's not real, lots of people doing whatever they're doing. But if I may take a moment to tell you, it happened in my house. And then my mother's husband we were told that he probably wasn't coming back. I remember the story of that 13-year-old child who left his mother's house, went to the hospital, died. Not only could the parents not see him, but they couldn't go to his funeral. So this thing is real. Let me start with you, Curtis. What has the virus meant for you in the way that you live your life? How has it affected you?
You know what I'm worried about? Going back to what we said, I went to the barber's yesterday, but I had a little bit of a panic attack. It was packed at 9 o'clock in the morning. Firstly, the barber was open at 9 o'clock in the morning, which he has never done before. Big shout to Gilly. And he's got all the protection around. So every chair had a piece of plastic, big sheeting between every chair. And I couldn't go in. I just couldn't go in. What I'm worried about is that I have been so locked down, other than in the mornings, because my mum is here, it's heightened my sensitivity to it. Because you guys know I'm an outdoors person. I love to be outside and just enjoy life. But with my mother being here and her of her age, which we won't discuss, it's made me a lot more sensitive to it. And I've become very protective of myself and my space as I'm moving through society. And what annoys me is that a lot of people weren't or aren't taking it seriously. We have those naysayers. I remember when this started and people were shouting out, black people can't catch this. No black person can catch this. I want those videos retweeted and re-sent out to highlight the ignorance of certain people. And when you're ignorant, which is fine, I've been there myself, hold it to yourself. When you start preaching, black people can't catch this, it's like, you know, it's a terrible way. It's like you're telling people, go and kill yourself. I've taken it very seriously. My journey now will be relaxing and easing down a little bit and not pushing people away when they're too close when I'm walking on the pavement, which I've been doing, because I don't want to verbalize with them, and it's a physical thing. And I've got to get over that, Eddie, and stop doing it, all right? But also, I just want to kind of more relax. One of the people who are in our bubble in the house had to travel to Scotland on Monday, gone for a week for work reasons. And now she's back within our bubble. So we're back on heightened lockdown. So I'm basically running up and down, feeding everybody, but keeping everybody separate. So it's brought it back to that kind of level we were at before. Yeah. Terrified, Eddie. That's the answer.
Angie?
I feel the same as Curtis. It's that feeling of, I'm trying to listen to the news, trying to make the right decisions, try not to be paranoid, try not to feel like, you know, this thing is going to rule us. At the beginning, you know, we were on lockdown. I've got my mum here, like Curtis says, from Jamaica. So I don't want anything to happen to her. Anyone who comes in, anyone who goes out is going through a treatment. And when you were watching the news and seeing people dying, I lost my aunt as well, you know, and lots of friends lost their parents. I had a friend who lost their mum and dad. So this was real. You know, my aunt went to hospital on Friday and she was gone on the Monday. A friend of mine there, you know, it was like 3 days. This 3 days thing was happening. I was thinking, what are they doing in there? You know, people are walking to the hospital and not coming out. So it was frightening. So yesterday when I saw people were going out, I thought to myself, you're good. I'll do what I have to stuff, but you're brave because I don't need to drink that much or a restaurant that much or got to go to the hairdressers. I learned to do my nails in lockdown. Do you know what I mean?
Me too, baby. Me too.
So for me, it's not about kind of like running out there. It's about really looking at this second wave could come back and what is the plan if it does, because I don't trust the government in what they're doing. I do not trust what Boris is saying. I think Boris is a real mess right now.
Well, he said this week that he wouldn't take the knee. I'm guessing that the real story would have been if he said he would have taken it, right?
Well, if, you know, he said that he doesn't want to do any little gestures. But every Thursday, we've been coming out of our house to clap for NHS. That's a gesture, isn't it? You know, why are we not important? Sometimes I wonder, why are we not important to the rest of the world? Why have we got to be always screaming to say, this is what we're fighting for? And why can't Boris come out and say something? Why is there always a distraction? And I'm getting really fed up of it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think even this, what we're doing now, it's stop waiting for somebody else to give you validation for what you believe. And I don't mean that as a criticism of you, Angie. I just mean myself too. I'm not waiting
all
for
of us,
my own experience or justify it to anybody.
But the game we are in, especially, it's about validation, isn't it? It's about being appreciated, accepted, and rewarded. So all my career, apart from maybe in the early days, where you were kind of that young rebel and you knew when it was about getting paid and making money, you did kind of lose your value and you lose your worth because you do auditions and so you get that on a constant. People are judging you and you've got to kind of hit some standard that is so much higher than anybody else's. I've been all my life trying to be funny. That's all I've wanted to do is entertain and be funny. I think laughter is an extremely powerful tool and I've just wanted to share it with everybody I possibly can.
Okay, then, with that in mind, sorry, Angie, with that in mind, every single week I've wanted to ask you two a question and I've never got round to it. So let me ask you now then. I'm lucky, unlucky, however you want to see it, because I work for the BBC. So it's a blessing and a curse for this particular podcast, because there are times where I can't speak my truth in the same way as the two of you. I'm guessing that you both understand that, right? But here's the question. Curtis, my brother, I've asked you off air, and now I'm going to ask you on air. I rang Curtis up one day and I said, how you living, Curtis? So let me ask you that, because right now you can get on an aeroplane and sit in that confined space, but you can't go into a theatre and sit in what would be akin to the same confined space. People like you who make people laugh and who do comedy, Angie does different stuff. I'm going to ask her the same question. But you can't go to a comedy gig, you can't perform, and I can't tell you when you will next be able to perform. How you living, bro?
I'm living on fumes right now. If you're talking financially, but spiritually, I'm buzzing because and well, who doesn't? I'm not very social media savvy at all. All right, and what this time has enabled me to do is learn. Because I tell you what, in some days I don't want to talk to anybody, and that's me. I'm getting a certain depression, and I don't want to chat to anybody.
And I'm used to describe it as.
Huh?
Is that what you describe it as?
Yeah, I know. I've learned to describe it as that. I never used to. It's listening to you on the radio and talking to other comedians. And it's a stereotype image of comics who are funny on stage and off stage. I'm not the most sociable person off stage. If I'm out and we're in a certain environment, then of course you're on a bit. But walking down the street, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I know that. I have a kind of attitude. That's why I probably got a Rottweiler, because it keeps a distance. I don't know. But in this time, I've learned to kind of embrace talking to Eddie, Gina, certain friends who have been reaching out and trying to help me get this social media thing going on, because I never understood it. I never respected it. I always think comedy, or the job I do, is about getting on stage. You learn your craft on stage. And yet we have another generation of comedians who have learnt their craft much like this in front of monitors and with their Wi-Fi working and their lighting on point. Yeah. But I never had the respect. But now doing it every morning, not having to, but wanting to talk, it's work. It's work, you know, but I'm enjoying it. That's something that I'll take out of this, the actual just waking up every morning and feeling like I want to share and I want to make somebody smile.
Has that helped you with the financial hit? Because that's got to be...
No. There's no financial reward for it. Financially, I had a bit of savings. I'm living off. I'm lucky. I've got a very wonderful family. What is cutting into my finances a lot is other broke comedians coming around and asking for money. That is the tricky bit. That's the tricky bit. You know what I mean? But other than that, I've got a lovely family, Eddie. That's all I can say. But I've told you this time and time again, live good with people. I know you don't agree, but live good with people, Eddie. And when you're on your knees, people will reach out and try and help you. I've been looking for work on a driving tip. I studied plumbing as a youth. I've done a bit of gardening for family and friends, and they've thrown a bit of cash my way. So it's just about survival mode. Because when I was young, I used to hustle. I used to know how to hustle. I used to know how to get things done. And as I got older, I kind of let that go. The career got more successful. But I've just gone and tried to get back to the hustle. I don't know what I'm going to do when I reach 45, because obviously you get a bit older and you probably won't be able to hustle and juxtaposition so much. But yeah, it's just about getting my hustle back.
Everything's
no, we've got you
frozen.
there, Eddie. It's all right. Have you changed monitor? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's Eddie Nesta.
Right, hopefully you can hear me. Angie?
Yes.
Can you hear me? We had a little technical fault there, but this is the brilliant thing about live stuff. Go for it again. So, Curtis,
how the tables have turned. That was me in the beginning.
Sorry, Angie.
Yes.
Curtis, thank you for that.
That's all right.
In terms, Angie, of how you're living, I think yours is a different question. What have you learned about yourself?
Well, I've learned to be resilient, and when Curtis was talking earlier about, we go out to be funny, that's what we're building. I think in the early stages of my career, I realized that after I had children, I couldn't do the circuit as much as I wanted to. So other things were going to have to come into play, like the writing, doing radio, teaching. All of those things came up as variation of work that I could do. So I've always wanted to just try to not get stuck doing one thing. They always say, jack of all trades, master of none, which is a lie. You can get on and do so many different things. So when I had plans for this year, big plans for this year, and when the virus took hold, it was like, oh, so that means this year's kind of written off. So all the workshops that I was going to do and all the things that I was going to do had to turn into workshops online. So the crash course, I do one-to-one, but normally a class, never on Zoom. The classes, the writing workshops, the presenting workshops, all of those things just became a new thing. And then it popped off into something completely different. So for that reason, it's been really easy to manage. And also, as Curtis says, I've got a family, I've got a great husband who supports me, because there are times when in this world as an artist, you have some low times. And even when you're writing, you sometimes want to just go away and write. You can't actually work, because that creative space is really creative. So you need a support team that will allow you to do that. And I have that, in my
Well, it's good that you've got a man in your life keeping you, Angie. That's so nice.
Well, women are keeping you, Curtis.
Yeah. I see
before you get too bright. This is not the place for that. Don't get yourself too bright because you got new lighting. Okay, so look, as you can see, we've had to swap things around in a little while. I'm in the studio right now, but we don't want anyone to know, because this is how we deal with computers switching themselves off in the middle. Okay, so today is the 72nd anniversary of the NHS. I personally owe the NHS everything. They saved my life. If it wasn't for the NHS and the wonderful people that work there. What does the NHS mean to you, Angie?
Well, a lot. I mean, the fact that I can last year, I had a hysterectomy, and I had I had infection that went through my body. So I had to go back into the hospital, and it was horrible. It was horrible, but they got me through it. And I know that if anything happens, I can get to that place where I can say, thank you so much, because that was life-threatening. It was a difficult time for me. And I realized how important the NHS is. You go to America, you go to the Caribbean, and you could sit down in a hospital all day. And if you ain't got money to get through, honestly, you're not going to get through. You watch people die in the Caribbean and in America. You just see it happen. So for me, the NHS is very important, and it's something that we need to fight for to make sure that it doesn't get privatized and we don't lose it, especially in this time.
And funny enough, I was looking for images to put up about the NHS today to say thank you. And we go back to Gina's salient point way back at the beginning of this, that the portrayal of people who work within the NHS is not the reality of what we see in our hospitals, Curtis.
Yeah, very true. And how Gina highlighted that, it was when my mother came over from Jamaica, she was having a cataracts done. That was the original thing. She walked in and says, "Where's all the English doctors?" Well, she means white. And I said, "Oh, they've all gone to Australia and Spain, Mum. They're not here anymore." This is, all of them. And it just, even in that moment, I looked around and I couldn't see a white European in the facility we were. And it just highlights how multicultural the NHS is. And this is where England and Britain, the issues I have, because I don't see what the problem is with embracing that and celebrating that.
Don't worry, that's coming.
A lot of the media want to, a lot of the forces want to portray it as if it's how it was in the 1940s or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
And the beauty of hearing so many languages, that's just me anyway, but so many languages being spoken around you excites me. That doesn't scare me.
Well, it might be because you're the child of an immigrant. It's supposed to excite you, Curtis.
The other voices, other sounds, other languages that I don't understand.
Well, you understand moving from one place to another to improve your life.
Of what this. I understand the rhythm of what they're saying. I know when they're angry. I know when they're sad. I know when they're being emotional. And to me, that's theatre, just right in front of your eyes. You're just sitting down in that 4-hour wait to be seen.
But it's also what they have been taught, because we know that multiculturally our people help build the NHS, and then you have another group of immigrants that have come about who.
Well, I know where you're going.
No,
I know where you're going.
Leave her. She's got lawyers.
No. But you have. I promise you will do it. But you just have to let me bring the boss on, right? So just let me bring the boss on, because I think the story you're about to go on to is a story that touch it. When you're doing news like I do, you become a little bit. There are two stories. One which is about to come out about a couple of police officers, which I don't want to talk about at all, which I'm guessing that lots of people know about. But there is a story that you're coming onto that feeds into what Curtis says that I want to do. But in a live show, things go wrong. In a live show, it is important to get the texts out. I promise I'm coming to you, Angie. It's important to get the texts out. I have no idea how we're going to do this, but we are now going to ask the world boss to get involved to tell us what people have been saying. Okay.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Curtis. Hello, Angie.
Hiya.
Hello, Eddie. You're back in. Sorry about the glitch. Apple wanted to do an upgrade. Wrong time. Angie, you look absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. That's what me and Eddie thought as well.
Anyway, Sunday blessings, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Anika said, that's the thing. Once they say you can go, that's when you start to get worried. Sherry says, does anyone think it's got anything to do with 5G? And we see all those videos of coming out about the 5G conspiracies. Ven says, look at Soho last night. And Denise Francis says, the virus has totally rocked her world. She lost her mother to coronavirus. Deepest sympathies to you, Denise. Sorry to hear that. Please like and share as much as you can. Don't forget to hashtag no joke. I can see you guys are commenting with each other in the chat room. Keep it going. See you later.
Bye, Lisa. You look beautiful too, darling. You were supposed to reciprocate, Ange. When somebody says you look good, oh, did you? Okay.
I did.
No, she did reciprocate. She said, I know.
No, I didn't. She took it out. You know, okay, carry on, you know.
Right.
You gave me my warning. I'm behaving myself today.
Put Angie in the middle.
I'm in the middle, please.
Okay.
I don't want no fighting. Okay. Where do I need to go now? Oh, there.
You're there, Curtis.
There you go. There you go. Right.
I'm there.
Angie, you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
So, as I said, like when you do news, you get a bit hard-hearted. This story just got me up in my feelings. So, the first Minister of State, Dominic Raab, indicates that up to 3 million Hong Kong citizens will have the right to come to this country and possibly stay. 3 million. I want to be clear about that number. And literally within my 3-hour show, I then get a story which says that survivors of the wind, I can't even speak, I'm so vexed. Survivors of the Windrush scandal will have to prove beyond reasonable doubt, which I see as a criminal term, that they have lost work and they are entitled to compensation for loss of earnings. It just blew my mind. Riddle me that, Angie.
You know, I think it's a slap in the face. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it, that we are seen as people that do not need any kind of respect at all, even with evidence. You have evidence, right, that we have gone through this scandal. You have seen what you've done to us. You have had cases, you're reporting on it. You've apologized for it. You have said you're going to give compensation. And now we've got to prove unreasonable doubt that this is a case that they will pay compensation for. I have to say this. You see those people in government, they are the lowest form of demons work in this country. No, they really are. It's a different type of wicked. I mean, what more do you want? People lost their families to go back to the Caribbean. They couldn't say goodbye. Some people have died over there. We saw the documentary the other day with where Patrick Robinson played the story, and that's just one story. This would be
in limbo. Waiting in limbo.
The best thing I could imagine they would do is pay everybody their compensation for it to go away. Why would you do this? To highlight it, to bring it back again, to say we're still going to treat you like you're the lowest form of people. That's really evil. And when they're talking about Black Lives Matter, they don't want to understand it. This is really where Black Lives Matter comes up again.
So we look like we're having some problems here. Everything's frozen.
It's all right, Ed. We'll continue. You're doing well, man. Just sort out your technical hitches. Angie, what you've got to understand is this is the slap in the face that we've been having throughout for centuries. Yeah. China, as Eddie always said, it's about the economics. It's about the economics of China. If you can invite 3 million people to come, there'll be no visas required. There'll be no questions asked. And in the middle,
because they got a plan.
In the middle of what's going on with Windrush, you don't see no irony there, no connection, no way anybody would be insulted by this. It shows you where we stand. So, you know, when everybody's talking about the don't spend a penny on the 7th, right? Don't spend a penny. This heightens why we have to show the economic power that collectively people who think like Black people, people who are Black people, people who respect Black people must highlight the fact that we're spending money. Appreciate it, because that's all they're responding to. You think they want Chinese in there? They don't want them, but they want their money. And you've got to remember, China owns most of England. China and Russia own most of them big buildings that nobody can afford to run in England, right? You've got to remember, it's about the money. So don't go spending your money on things with people who don't respect you, have no connection with you, right? This is what they want to understand. We spend money in this country, yeah? People who love us spend money in this country. We have to respect our own things more.
There's a plan of action. You know, you don't just bring 3 million people in and waive the visa and say, that's just because we're being nice. You've got a plan in this country to build up the country, to do something in this country. Don't think London West End ain't shutting down for a reason. We've got to be very and understand that there is something else happening. And the fact that we have no value to them, we need to see. So, like what you're saying, Curtis, we need to get our value together. You know, and be more.
And look at the language they're using. Look at the language. Beyond a reasonable doubt. That's law language, you know. That's criminal language. That's language they use to define us. Anything they talk about defining black people or people from the Caribbean or from Africa, it's language of beyond a reasonable doubt. Can you imagine using that in conversation with somebody you love? Huh? Can you put sugar in my tea? Well, can you prove it beyond a reasonable doubt? What kind of language is that to use with human beings that have done nothing wrong other than be born?
They've got all the evidence that they need, and then they still want this evidence. Now, this is what I was trying to say last week, where you kind of cut me.
Nobody cuts you, Angie. You talk for days.
I'm not saying that you cut me. What's wrong with you? I'm saying something that Eddie cut me off last week.
He did. Eddie did.
I can't protect back the chat to make you understand, right? I'm on your side, bro. That lad. Did you have breakfast? The thing is, right? Girls, that's why. The thing is, when we was talking about our young people last week, right, and how badly behaved they were, and it was bad behavior, we understand that. But what is happening to our young people that people seem to be missing is that they are seeing what is happening to us. They are seeing what is happening to the generations before us, and they have no respect for these people. They have no respect for authority. Some of them have no respect for police. You're seeing it every weekend when the police are trying to shut down all these these parties. So if they don't want to address it from the fish stink from the head, you know, fish from the head. So if these people who are running the country are telling us we are worthless to them, that even when they try to destroy our families, you still want reasonable doubt that you should get this compensation.
Angie, 1 second. Curtis, what are you doing? Somebody's
Eddie, I have to say, you know, unlike you, I'm putting my charger in. Yeah? I'm just putting my charger in because I don't want to be embarrassed like you were. So don't jump on me now for technical issues.
I'm sorry, Angie. Go on. I'm sorry, Angie. I'm really. I think when we took issue last week.
Well, I was also saying, Eddie, sorry to cut you again, but the reason why I was trying to say something earlier is that there is dog whistles going out about how you treat us as a community. Okay, this is what I mean about the NHS, how they treat us as a community. So when I walk into the hospital and somebody said somewhere, if this particular type of people come in, maybe they're best suited to go over here. Put them on the COVID ward. They put me on a COVID ward. She didn't go in there with COVID, but then she was dead within 3 days. So there is a sense of how you see these people when they come towards you. That is what we need to get and eradicate, because it's all very saying everything is going really well, but the turn of different press release to say treat these people differently.
Do you have confidence in the commission that's been initiated by Boris Johnson that they will look at that and find something out?
Listen, what's going to end up happening is that people, if you're around something that's criminal, like people dying, when you're around a situation where you think, this isn't right, it's going to come out. People can't hide that. Mental health has not reacted yet to this virus yet, you know. People are going to start saying, I was there. They told me to do this. Because you know why I say that? Because I've heard it. I've heard people speaking and saying, you know what, this is what happened. And they said to do this with these people and it was wrong. So I don't trust they're going to get that. We got to get that from the street.
My issue is that I dare say that will come out and it will be, but it will be so far down in the future that it will have no kind of power or interaction because they will confess their sins, because you have to. Everybody has to at some point.
I think that that's the real worry in all of these things. Will be Hillsborough, Grenfell, Stephen Lawrence inquiry. That by the time you actually come out with the findings, the first thing that people like me get is, well, Eddie, we've changed so much since then. And that annoys you because it makes it sound as though something was done and actually it hasn't really been done. So I take your point on that. But in all these institutions, whether you work in there or you visit them, you have to have a champion quite often. So I'm guessing when you went in there and, you know, either your children or your husband was out there going, Why are you doing that? What are you doing? What does this mean? How long will it take? When will it prove? What's the recovery time? And you kind of need that.
Yes, we have that, but then also when I go into the hospital, when I was in the hospital, there were some black nurses that were on the wards. When I came in and they were recognizing me, they were like, "Oh my God, Angie Lamar, let's make sure." Great treatment. So the ward that I was in, everything that was happening to me, I was sharing it with the women that were on the ward as well. Even when I was telling them, listen, when they come to you and you don't want to do that, talk up. I remember hearing my curtain was drawn and this woman was across the bed from me, and I could hear her literally saying the words that I told her to say because she wasn't happy with something. And that's because of information and people who are looking out for each other. So those black nurses were looking out for me. My role was to look out for the women on the ward. So unless you've got people champion for you, then you're going to be out there by yourself. That's why as a community, we have to be very alert and strong for each other and recognize things are going on and that we're standing up for each other. That's very important.
Okay, so look, and I have to move it on quickly. I know that we never ever get to the end of where we want to get to, but it's because you're such brilliant speakers. Please, before the boss comes back, get your comments on agree, disagree. And actually, one of the things we really want is for you to tell us if there's a subject you want us to talk about. So we're going to have to make this up. Okay, so boss lady, what we want to do now is there is a historian who's quit from Cambridge this week. And one of the things we got last week was we were talking about a video and not everybody had seen the video. Right. So what we're trying to do this week, Curtis, don't speak, please. Okay. What we're trying to do this week to play the video.
I'll leave it all up to you.
Stop. I need your help now. Right. Listen to what he had to say.
Slavery was not genocide. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many damn blacks in Africa or in Britain, would there?
I mean, we didn't really need to hear any more than that, did we? Slavery was not genocide. Angie, let's go.
The man said, damn blacks, you know. I mean, I had to really, for me, if you could just give me a second on this one, I had to literally go and find out exactly what the genocide...
You're all right, babe?
Yeah, go on.
All right, so David Starkey now, those who don't know him, he's the one they pull out every time they want some controversy. You'll see him on Question Time. There's many a time that man's made me want to kick in my own telly, you know. Yeah. If it wasn't for Corona and I couldn't afford a new telly, he gets you so wound up. But I think that's his gig, you know. He's a historian and he's gone on and he's talking. This is going back to what you were saying earlier, Angie, about the lack of respect and the language they use when they describe us. And why Boris Johnson won't take a knee, and why I struggle with the British in me. I struggle with it because he embodies a lot of the British qualities that I totally despise. That Britishness that won't learn another language when they're abroad. They're living in a country, yeah? And they get angry at people who don't speak English. English, why don't you speak English? And it's like, well, you're in another country. Surely you should be making an effort to learn their language. So Starkey's gone on a YouTube channel and been asked about slavery and has said that it couldn't have been what's the word? Genocide. It couldn't have been genocide because there's so many damned blacks still alive in Africa and Britain. Damned blacks. And he uses the word blacks, which a lot of racists use that word, the blacks. If you know.
And here's what it says, right? The deliberate killing of a large group of people, especially those of a particular ethnic group. Now, what is that? Why is it we come to talk about slavery or we come to talk about our story? People are so uncomfortable with it, but they're so quick to make a slave film. I stopped watching slave movies after Roots, okay? Because I didn't need to see any more memories of what they did, okay? And I need to see the whole.
But hold on a minute. Isn't there a disconnect? Because I've heard a lot of people say that, and I've seen Django 12 Years a Slave. I've seen them, and I feel equally uncomfortable. But how can we say that it's not discussed and then say we're uncomfortable with seeing films about it? Explain that to me, Andrew.
I said I'll explain it. You see, because we first of all must understand the history of our slavery and the fact that we weren't always slaves, right? And we were enslaved. Once we start to understand that story and that narrative, we can actually tell that story. But if you're going to just make films about a particular time in our history that will go into the movie industry, and that's a big audience, to say this is who they were. Anytime they want to tell a story, it's like they want to tell you to put you in your place, to remember this is who you were, this is what it was. I don't need to see black women being raped and abused and go through that whole wicked, evil part of our history, to sit with popcorns and eat that. I mean, think about it. When I saw
What do you want to see?
I want you to tell us the whole story. You know, Beyonce is getting a lot of stick right now for the narrative that she's taken up to tell the story of before we were slaves. Tell us the whole story, then tell us about what you did to us, and stop making it out as though it's just something that happened. So when you get David Starkey come and talk about, you know, the damn blacks, you should get sacked. You shouldn't get to work again. None of your books should be republished, because everything that you've written is based on.
But people like David Starkey don't get sacked. They retire or resign.
But your book sells.
What then would you say, Curtis, to the idea that it wasn't set up, they didn't set up to destroy a race like with the Jews?
Sorry, Eddie, Angie was talking over you. What did you say?
I'm asking because technically Angie's definition says you're setting out to destroy a race. That wasn't what slavery was it? So is he technically right?
No, he's not technically right, because what he doesn't embrace or doesn't want to qualify is black people or slaves as human beings. He wants to talk about them as commodities, as he would talk about tobacco. And if you listen to David Starkey, now I went back and unfortunately had to listen to all of that. And the way that man's rhetoric, that rant he has, he sat back and thought, I'm safe to do this. That's what's overwhelmingly powerful, you know. The fact that he felt nobody can touch me, I'll say what I want to say. He goes on to
Brexit podcast, wasn't it?
There's a podcast on YouTube, or one of them. I'm not going to call the guy's name. I wrote it down, but I don't want to give him any more than this. He goes on to have a go with Seiko about her just being somebody who made tea for the officers. That's all she did. But yet we've got this is his words. Yet we've got a statue to her outside St. Thomas Hospital. And so I'm like, really? This is where you're going? He doesn't understand that we are human beings. It's like people who came from the Caribbean and worked on buses, didn't train as bus drivers in the Caribbean. They were doctors, lawyers, nurses, and they came here and did what they had to do in order to make a living. It doesn't make them less intelligent or less people because they had to adapt. Look at me, I'm the funniest comedian in Britain. I've had to do people's gardens during lockdown. I've had to dig up grass and weeds during lockdown. We're survivors, man. We're survivors.
We are survivors, but what I was saying before we go off topic is that he has written so many books, and so the information in those books are in libraries. And that we've got to go back and track. That's why I say not to publish books. These things are in stone, and we have to go back to those and destroy them. They have to.
No, Angie, you can't destroy books. You don't destroy books. His information, Angie, his voice and his information is so important. This is what I want people to understand. I don't want my racists to be hiding. I don't want them to be given an opportunity not to be seen. I like my racists right in front of me. And if I'm working for you,
fried or boiled?
Huh?
Fried or boiled?
But you know what I mean? I don't want them to have to hide and be discreet. Write your books. His books are about the history of Britain, the Tudor generation. They are what is made his money.
Angie, sorry to interrupt you. I just need to get some thoughts in, because we are, as you can tell, doing a live show. Passions are running high as they do. Hey, Angie, I thought this was a quiet week. And here we are.
I tried.
We're going to get the boss in to read some more of these messages. All right.
Please. Favorite bit. Push him off the chair, Liz. Push him.
I'm trying to. I need the space. I've had to bail him out yet again.
Yeah, it wasn't you. You go, girl.
Thank you. Loving the messages, people. Keep them coming in. Sorry.
It's all right, Liz. Don't worry, baby. It's only live.
It is only live. Gian says, beyond a reasonable doubt implies that if you're black, you probably would not have been working anyway. So why would we compensate you? Pamela Haynes says, yep, the police stormed Brixton, but not Bournemouth. Donna Ben says, blacks in Africa, where else would they be? Referring to David Starkey. And Amanda Perry says, the sad thing is his work has to be studied as part of A-level history.
That's the sad thing. Very true.
That is the sad thing. Keep the comments coming in. Please remember to like and share. Hashtag no joke. See you next week. Bye-bye. Over to you, Eddie. Bye-bye, Angie. Bye, Curtis.
Bye. You're looking fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you. So are you, my king.
We start our detox on Monday. See you on the detox.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I really do apologize for that. Okay.
And it's a good point. Sorry, Eddie. It's a good point about the curriculum as well, because it's him and people like him that devise the curriculum for our children. And this is something that's going to need to be explored.
That's exactly my point.
I think that's right. But I don't. I've got to say, I don't like the idea of destroying books. It reminds me of the Third Reich. And put it there. Let us look at it. Let us study in it. Have a context within whatever we do. And just in case people are looking and haven't, you need to do it before Angie loses her mind. You just in case people don't know, slaves were not taken from Africa. Doctors, architects, nurses, professors, they were taken from Africa. So look, you know, one of the things that I noticed in this thing, because I'm sad, I watch it again, and then I read all the comments cursing me and Curtis and saying go on Angie. And that's stop Angie, by the way. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. But can we do a story that has got me arguing in my house? Right. So
what's that?
Jada Pinkett and Will have had an interesting relationship, right? And it's been well documented, but for a Hollywood couple, they've stayed the game for a hot minute. But what have they done? Have managed to do it? Well, look, there is a young man, August, who, by the way, has got an album coming out, but he had this to say about a relationship. Take a look at this.
I actually sat down with Will and had a conversation due to the transformation from their marriage to life partnership that they've spoken on several times, and it, you know, not involving romanticism. Mm-hmm. He gave me his blessing, and I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life.
So Angie, when I read this story, I thought of you and Dave.
Not you and Lisa.
So you have to explain to me what go on here, babe. I don't get it. I know that in this house, I've been cussing at you, right? With the funny hair. He's the enemy. He's the bad guy in this. But I might be wrong. So I'm really fascinated to hear your perspective on it.
You know, the thing is, right, we've all probably heard the rumors about Will and Jada, that their marriage is more of not a front, it's just their arrangement. And as August said in there, he was part of their transition from marriage to partnership. Now, that's their way of saying they've got an open relationship. And when
if it's true, Angie, if it's
true, allegedly people's understanding.
She's got lawyers, let her talk. Go on, Angie.
Is that understanding, right? Is that they have a relationship that works, right? And it works for them because they are, if you listen to some of their Red Talk, I don't know if you guys just watched Red Talk, but she has said before that that in some areas, they are not compatible. In some areas, they have to live apart and do things at different levels. You know, Will is very outgoing, she's very introvert, and all of those things make a little bit of sense. Her love for Tupac was quite intense. That was a very difficult time for Will when he had to step up to that place to be a husband. So when August came out with this story, and if you heard the whole interview, this relationship with him and Jada is deep because she's a mothering role to him, because this is the guy he looks after his sister. His sister died. He's raising the three nieces. He's a very deep, profound young man. But I think the line is very blurred right now as to whether or not it was a relationship. He's, to me, coming out and saying, I love that woman. I was in love with that woman, and Will gave me his blessing. Now, if we look at it from a partnership relationship, if that's an open relationship, he's probably saying, good luck with my wife. And that she's coming to do the red table to talk to us and tell us exactly what that is, because
she's going to be talking to herself on that table.
She's going to be talking to herself and saying, letting us know, wait a minute, if you sit and you're talking openly about everything about other people's business, here's the time when you're going to have to go, this is what he meant. Because that's this right. is taking, no one's going home after this one.
Why did he feel compelled to talk it then? If he's such a deep and understanding.
If you see some of his interviews and listen to his music, he's quite one of those deep Tupac type people. You know, them people who feel everything and they don't.
He's feeling everything. So why does he feel he has to chat to people about what he's feeling?
That's the bit of it I don't get, Kurt.
But we'll just help an album go, because you're not going to buy it.
What's it got to do with me? If Will and his missus want to do their business, why is this you coming out now and telling everybody? What's that about?
It sounds like spite. It sounds like spite. It sounds like that she's probably dropped him. And this is a 27-year-old young guy. She's in her 40s. She might have thought, that's it for now. I've finished with you. And he might have not been tooled up enough to be able to deal with that. So
at 27? Come on.
There's some man at 50.
What were you doing, Angie? What were you doing at 27?
At 27?
Would you have
practicing how to ride a penny farthing?
Sorry, Eddie. This guy. Go on.
27 is old. You could be a doctor.
Old, man.
I had 2 children by then. You know, I was on my second child. Do you know what I mean? So,
but I'm saying, even if he was being caught up in the emotion and felt whatever, at 27, why take it to the public? Why not just deal with it with your friends?
Because hurt people hurt people. This is a man that is probably thinking, you let me down, and I thought you were going to be there for me. Well, you know what? The truth is about to come up. This Dolly house is going to get mashed down, and I don't care, because I get record sales, and I don't care. I don't
see
care.
That opinion goes against. He's a deep philosophical guy. He's a thinker. Even getting bitter and bitchy about a relationship, he knew she was married going in.
Hell hath no fury and all of that. Yeah. This one, I didn't feel this one. I think he's going to come out of it worse. I don't think they're going to. Yeah, I think so.
Because she'd have to leave Will now and go to him for him to win this. She'd have to say, Will, I love him too much, I'm going with him. And she's never going to do that.
Because Will is not that part of her relationship. Will shut everything down. Will Smith will shut everything down.
And he'll shut down the album as well. August who?
September.
November.
Right, Angie, tell me about I've seen this story before actually, but in a different way. It's a story of stuff for different people costing different amounts of money. I think we've seen historically stories in supermarkets where black dolls cost more than white dolls. Oh, wow. And like you got one of those for us today, haven't you?
Yes, that was the dolls from Little Mix. The black one is not selling. So not dolls, the lashes. The black one's on half price sale. Now, I experienced this. Remember with John Simmet when he was in Teletubbies?
Yes.
Yes. Tinky Winky. Or
Dipsy.
Lala. Or Poe. How do I know all of that?
He was just a child.
You're special.
He was the green one, right? So this is the black character in Teletubbies. And when I went to buy Teletubbies, all the green ones were on the shelves.
Huh?
That always seems to be the case.
Right.
A mixture of like one black person, like Spice Girls.
But the green ones were on the shelf.
Oh yeah, because they weren't.
But does that mean they knew it was being played by a black actor?
The dolly was darker.
Oh, was it?
No. Hold on. There was a green one, a red one, or pinky red, and a blue one.
No, but in their faces.
And a purple one. Or was that? Yeah.
In their face.
Winky. Dipsy,
But
la
anyway, there's
la, oh,
somewhere in that,
Teletubbies,
and then
Teletubbies.
You're singing it wrong, Eddie. Tiki Winky, Dipsy, La
La
La,
la,
Oh,
oh,
yes.
Teletubbies,
Oh my God, not
Teletubbies.
here.
Sorry, Ange, go on. I
Sorry,
just cut you.
Angie.
No, the fact of the matter is that wasn't selling. So somewhere in this marketing, when it comes to one black product amongst a group of white, they don't sell. So these lashes, they're saying, oh, it's a sell price. My thing is that the same that we were talking about earlier. There is a message going down, and it's going down to children as well. This one is separate. This one is different.
I don't know, Angie.
I don't
Because
know.
if you go into Bobby
Go buy
one
dolls.
time,
Go
there
buy
was
dolls.
Bobby Brown
Go buy dolls.
or
Go buy.
Mac.
Go buy dollies. Go buy dollies. Go put
Yeah, Eddie, go and buy a dolly.
that test goes through so many different children, so many different generations. They pick the white dolly because the black dolly is bad. They do that. This is conditioning. So the root work that we need to do is so deep. This is why when I say that little dog whistle that's going around us all the time, we have to be so alert to it because these kids are picking up on it.
Because there was a Disney princess who was a black character, an animated Disney princess, Angie. What was that her name? Do you remember?
Yeah,
and it was set in the deep. Huh?
I'm not even sure if it's come out yet, that film.
Yeah, it came out, man. It was a long time ago. And that same issue that Andy's talking about happened with her doll. It was set in New Orleans swamps, and she wanted to be a cook.
Yeah, but hold on a minute. Wasn't it last week when we talked about how black people don't want to go into black people's shop? Then why is any of this a surprise? Did you buy black books or black dolls for your children, Angie?
All my dolls, all the dolls in my house are black. I got a doll collection because I love dolls, and I've always made sure from the 80s I was in America buying black dolls for my daughter, even when I didn't have them.
You bought the dolls before you had the daughter?
That's called something different, Angie.
Okay.
That's called something different. You need to be careful of that.
Because the truth of the matter is, I could see it wasn't selling in England. So when I used to go around flying or go to different countries, I could pick up black dolls. I'm collecting black dolls. So that when my daughter comes into this world, she's lucky that I did have a girl, then she could see these little toys around her represent her. The books, that's always been in our house. It's just who we are. And it's deliberate as well.
Okay, hold on a minute.
First doll I got was Evel Knievel.
Evel Knievel?
Yeah, we're not talking about the kind of dolls you got now, Kurt. Let's leave that one.
Not the ones I got now, Ed.
Stay on the safe territory, okay? Is
that the doll or your daughter?
That's Chucky.
That's one of my dolls.
Eddie, I'm scared. I'm getting very frightened.
And she just had the doll to hand like that.
Yeah, that's very worrying.
I didn't know you were talking about dolls. But
you go to Angie's house, the doll starts, hey, who is you?
She was just there.
Boy, lockdown fever, man.
I got a message from a white person this week that I know very well. It's a mate with using black emojis, and I went, "Raw, what am I? Is that weird? Do you use black emojis then, Kurt?"
Yeah.
Eddie, I'm not really up on it. Don't ask me about emojis. I'm basically trying to work out how to get lighting on a camera. All right, I don't know emojis, and if I have, I don't care where they come from, what ethnicity. If I get it to you, it's well done. Yeah. I didn't even know they had different.
You fade up.
You could get different ones.
They've been giving you shades as well. You could be anything.
Wow.
Listen.
I'll investigate that for next week.
We're going to end the show in a second, but for me, it was important to do something light today as well. I know we got impassioned as we normally do. Right, Curtis, you're going on a date. This is all over. Is it even coming to your head who's paying for that food, Curtis?
At this point in time, hell yes. And it won't be me. It won't be me. At this point in time, it won't be me. Yeah?
Right, that's a straight answer. Angie, have you thought on this? Have you talked to your children about this?
Yes, and especially to my, the son, this is what you do. My daughter, if you ask somebody out for a date, you are responsible for paying that date.
Really?
If you go for a second date, that's when you both pay. If you go for a third date, that's when you both make sure you have money to pay, but you make the offer to pay.
Third date. Curtis,
Yeah.
tell her that
And
we're looking for the things long before that.
Long before
Tell her
that.
not third date.
If it's
long. If you get a
third,
second
come
date,
on
I'm
now.
looking to go straight back to your house. That's
First
how
date.
men think. But third date, Angie, what do you think this is?
The first, listen, well, I don't know what sort of relationships that you're.
She grew up watching the Waltons.
Innit?
Yeah, good night, Jimbo.
Night, Grandpa.
Night, Grandma.
No,
where's Angie? She's not in bed yet.
she go on party. No, listen.
She's going to party. Yes.
The thing is, if you're gonna, as women, when women go out, so that no one gets the lines crossed about just because you think you paid for me that you're going to have something tonight. No, I'm taking control. I'm paying so that because we're getting to know each other. So you don't.
Is that on the first date? She's paying on the first date.
That's all that vex money foolishness, isn't it, Angie?
You must always have vex money. You must always have vex money. So when they say, listen, mate, and carry on rude, you can say, there's the money. See you later. Go about my business. You must have that. We've been taught that. Keep our money on us to make sure we can get home and we can pay for our food.
I think it's now where we are, 2020, women should be paying straight away for everything. Not equal, just pay for everything. You've had your time in the sunshine.
Oh, well, they've had
pay some bills.
Time of us paying it. Best you carry your own self now. Yeah,
yes, man. It's another form of reparations.
And make sure you open the door, right? Because I'm not off the mindset that you mustn't open the door for me. Open the door for me, because if you don't open the door for me, you just show me that you don't have no manners. And if you don't want to pay or look to be paying, you're going to be deemed, sorry, men, as a type of man. Do
you know how a door works, Angie?
We look at anyway.
Because if you know how a door works, you just push it or pull it, baby.
And buy, yeah.
That's it. Your fathers would open doors. Don't forget those rules. Those are decent behaviors. Don't undo it because society says, guess what?
No.
Don't open the door.
I never saw my father open the door for my mother.
If I'm a pregnant woman and I'm standing up next to you, you don't want to get out for me. What kind of nonsense is that?
Oh, you're pregnant now? Wow.
I just buy you.
I just told you how to history it to me. I don't tell you how to history it to me. No woman did it.
God bless you. God bless you, bro. Curtis, enjoy yourself. Have a great week. God bless you. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. Angie, you look so wonderful. Curtis, Curtis is good. I was going to tell him to tell you how good you look.
You look fantastic, Angie. I can't wait to see what next week here looks like. What colour we're doing next week?
Who are you going to be next week, Angie? Take it easy. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. It's really important also, for me. I watched last week and we get really passionate, and we are clearly really passionate about whatever it is that we do, but also good to have some fun, a release. Sometimes it gets tough, if I'm honest with you. Mentally, I feel it. It's like heavy stories. And those two people have been in the business respectively for over 30 years. They are very, very funny people. Look, Paul Lawrence has got Angie talking to him now, one-on-one interview. I suggest you go and look at that. Mastermind is on later. Happy birthday, Patricia. We lost a lady who we all love, those of us who knew her, called Jackie Hilton. Certainly when I'm on from 7 o'clock tonight on the other Facebook page, we'll be paying tribute to her in a classics show. Thank you, because I got in trouble that I did not say thank you to Mrs. Nestor last week. So thank you. And God bless you. Look after yourself. Please stay safe. And happy 72nd birthday to the NHS. God bless.